I'm very mindful when using the word trauma with any of my clients. I think if we're talking about experiences we've had and we're labeling them as traumatic, that heightens them in our mind as something that was super intense to the point where we can almost become a victim to those experiences of the past. Now, this isn't to say that we should downplay the intensity of an experience, but also we don't want to upplay that experience so much that it becomes such a big part of our life that our attention is constantly on it because we believe we went through this huge thing. If we're making the past or an event of the past so huge, that can anchor us to the past in a really unhealthy way. And we can feel like a victim of our past as opposed to a creator of our destiny, someone who's actually in co-creation with life, sculpting a greater experience for ourselves, for themselves, which is what I believe we're all here to do. So be very careful using the word trauma. And what is traumatic for one person is not traumatic for another person. So that's worth noting as well. If you survive the trauma, then the truth is you're actually victorious over that experience, despite how hard it was. So maybe instead of saying, I went through trauma, maybe actually start declaring to yourself that you are victorious, that you have phenomenal coping skills, that you are truly relentless, that you are unshakable, and that you've got everything it takes to get out there and create an incredible life moving forward. Some healthy perspectives around trauma and understanding what it is and how to effectively use that term and when to use that term. I certainly don't have all the answers, but working as a clinical hypnotherapist, I see what gets people results and I see what keeps people stuck pretty clearly. How we want to be careful what we label as trauma and what we're declaring as a traumatic experience versus an experience that was intense, without a doubt, but it also taught us something. We actually got something from it. We became something from that. And the truth is we always became something from every experience we had, and you're still here. And so because of that experience, you've learned something about yourself, you've learned something about life. And if you've been through an intense experience and you haven't extracted the gold, then that is the work we all get to do. Extract the gold from it, mine the gold, mine the experience, the lessons from that experience. And so it becomes something that you can look back on and say, I did get something from that, even though it was so intense. And you don't mitigate, you don't downplay the intensity of the experience as far as the pain you might have felt or any other intense emotions, but you don't let it play in your mind louder than it needs to, taking up time and space in your mind, taking up valuable real estate. I wanted just to expand on that and talk about if you have experienced really intense things in your life, and I don't know a single human who hasn't. Some people would label these as primary traumas, which are really, really big events that you experienced. And when I say big events, it might just be an event that felt big for you. If you're comparing the big events you've faced with other people, they might not seem very big. But if you had an experience in your life where you felt all sorts of feelings, where you felt out of control, where you felt all sorts of emotions that you didn't understand and you didn't know what to do with them, and you just felt so lost, you just felt so discombobulated in your experience as a human, you felt so shaken by that event, then the truth is that could have been stored in your body as what some people would label as a trauma. It is important as individuals to understand that we've all accumulated a few bumps and dents along the way. And I kind of use these words playfully, and I do that deliberately to rather not make mountains out of molehills where we can avoid it. So we've all experienced some challenge. And for those of you who know my experience, you know I've experienced my fair share of challenge as well. I'm not just sitting here talking from a place of never really experiencing any hardship. I've experienced my stuff as well. But what we can do is we can be honest with ourselves and say, as an individual, as a human being on this planet, I've experienced some challenging things. And actually writing out the most challenging experiences you've had can be massively beneficial. Just being honest with yourself, hey, this has been my journey. I'm just going to report on it. I'm going to get out a journal. I'm going to get out a piece of paper. I'm just going to write out the most intense experiences of my life. And you write out what they were. You write out how you felt. and you're very real about that, and you feel any emotions that come up as you write about that journal, write in your journal rather, about that experience, noticing what's going on in your body as you even bring that event up to back to mind, back to conscious awareness, noticing and allowing space, really breathing room for that event to be processed in a really healthy way. So if there's events that you think about in your life and you get a big emotional reaction from it, that means that there's something still stored around that event. So that's a great way to know if there's work to be done in your life. So some of you, and I say this with so much respect, may not be ready to do this process on your own. And this is where it's really important to go and get some support. Go and reach out to someone who you can have support you navigate the painful experiences. You might think it's such a big deal to talk to someone about an intense experience you've had. And I'm not downplaying that it is a big deal. However, it's never as big a deal for the person you go and get support from as it is for you. That is important to understand. So when my clients share something with me, yes, I hear all sorts of intense experiences, and my goodness, I've got so much compassion for people, and there's a part of me that wishes they didn't have to go through that, and I wish I could wave a magic wand and take that away from certain people, like the experiences they've had, but that's not my place. It was part of their experience, I believe, for a reason, and the reason is for them to gain something from it, even though at the time it seemed unexplainable. There is always, this is the beauty of life, there is always something we can extract even from the most intense experiences. But it's up to us to dig. It's up to us to be deliberate, be intentional, to look, to search, to find. And if we don't do that, then the event will just be whatever we labeled it as when we navigated it in the moment. So this is the opportunity we have as individuals, as humans. So if an event is too big and too weighted for you to process on your own, go and get some support, and don't carry that for any longer than you need to. You can't go back, you can't relive an experience, but you can absolutely carry it with you in the form of emotional storage, emotional energy that gets stored in the body, and mental real estate, again, that's been taken up in your mind. It doesn't have to be that way. You're not meant to carry it with you in an unhealthy way. You can carry it forward with you in an empowered way where you've extracted everything from that. You've dusted yourself off from that event. You've left it in the past where it belongs, and you move on to a greater experience of life. That's what I believe we're here to do. And the things that, as I said, the things that have the potential to break our heart also have the potential to open up our hearts with the right perspectives. And the beautiful thing about being a human is that we have the ability to adjust our perspectives and keep adjusting our perspectives until we can see any event, and I truly mean any event, as on the way, not in the way. So hopefully this video has been helpful, a little bit long, but for those of you who stuck with me, I celebrate you. Go complete this exercise, and if you need any support, reach out.